Hey cowboys, neighbors, friends, welcome back to my kitchen, cooking with Derek. I think every good home cook needs to learn how to bake bread. And there's bread makers, there's mix masters, stand mixers, whatever you want, all different machines. But seriously, a bowl and a spoon and a work surface, you can make decent, good quality homemade bread. You know exactly what's in it, and it's certainly more affordable than the factory made bread we buy in the supermarkets. And your money goes further. Nutrition wise, flavor wise, it's a far superior product. And I think it's a skill that every home baker needs to know how to. But oh, there's the cat in behind. But yes, we're going to make some brown bread today. That's about 60% whole wheat. I've just scalded some milk. It's going to cool down, and we'll get busy making bread. So join me at the kitchen table. Okay, I have my mixing bowl. In this pot is 3 cups of whole milk, and I've scalded it. That's about 180 degrees Fahrenheit I've brought it up to. It improves the structure of your bread. Before the days of pasteurization, you had to do it so that your bread, if you were using milk in your bread, it was safe to eat. And in this day and age, we just know that the science behind it, it helps improve the structure of the bread. You have a softer crumb. I don't need to get into the whole science. Anyways, 3 cups of milk cooling in the mixing bowl. And as soon as it's down to lukewarm, okay, I'll get this. Milk has, I washed my hands, don't worry. I'm not washing them in the milk. I washed them beforehand. The milk has cooled down. It's just at room temperature, a gentle warm. I can proceed with bread. I don't have any traditional yeast, so I am using instant. Instant yeast does provide quicker results, a little bit less faffing about, but not as much depth of flavor. But it's what I have to work with today, so I'm adding 1 tablespoon of instant yeast. And I'm going to add, making 2 loaves for every, there's 3 cups of milk. So for every cup and a half, I'm adding, about 1.5 tablespoons of sunflower oil. You can use literally any fat that you want. You could add melted shortening, melted lard, melted butter. You could use olive oil. I choose vegetable oil or sunflower oil because it has no flavor. I want the flavor of the bread to shine through. Next thing I'm going to do is add about, I don't know, I don't actually measure much for my bread other than the liquid and the yeast. So I'm going to add 3 scoops of white flour. That is probably about 4 cups. White flour. Got a sturdy mixing spoon here. And I'm going to add white flour until this starts to thicken a bit. And then we'll switch over to brown. So I've got a spoon, and this is a little bit of a workout, but it's good for us and it reminds us that we're making real food. Now, this is about the consistency of pancake batter, which is what I want. At this stage, I can add salt, and they're going to be 1.5 pound loaves of bread, so I need 1.5 teaspoons of salt for each, for each loaf of bread. So I'm adding, that's about 2.5 teaspoons of flaky sea salt. Unsalted or low salt bread, it just doesn't taste nice. Now beat this batter with a spoon vigorously. I say it's a bit of a workout, but it's good for us. You want it to start forming strings in the bowl, and you can see that happening. Okay. And it's funny, you watch some of the cooking shows and those young cooks get exhausted by this, and I'm thinking you would never last in a commercial kitchen of the old-fashioned sort. Okay, I'm going to start adding brown flour, and this is about, I'm adding about 2 cups here. We're going to stir that in. I do not put sugar in my bread. If I was using traditional yeast and having to set that separate, I would add a little bit of honey to the warm water, but bread itself doesn't need sugar. Okay, can you see it's getting nice and thick? So at this point, I abandon the spoon. My hands are clean. Take off my signet ring. Take off your jewelry when you're doing this. Clean up the spoon with one hand. This is going to get messy, but cooking is kind of a messy job. So add some more flour. And basically you add flour until it won't take anymore. I'm pushing them in with the front of my fingers, pushing it in. I'll keep scraping the sides of the bowl. When you're using instant yeast, I'll probably only be able to get 2 rises out of this, once in the bowl and once in the pan. If I was using traditional yeast, I could get 3. And I've just ordered some traditional yeast, so that I will do another cooking video on how to use traditional yeast. So using a hand, one dirty hand, one clean hand, turn the bowl. See what I'm doing? I'm moving it over. So this is the point where I'm going to, I've got a clean work surface. This kitchen table is food safe. So I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of flour on the table. I'm going to spread it out. And I'm going to tip this out. Now we don't need this bowl in a scrape. As best you can, clean the bowl with the end of your fingers, because that's what I'm going to set the dough to rise in this afterwards. So I'll set that aside for now. And this is and now we get into kneading. And kneading, pull it all together, fold it in half, push it away from you. You want to, it's almost like stretching it. You can use one hand, you can use 2 hands. Every cook that gets into making bread sort of develops their own routine. But I'm going to knead this bread. And if if it starts to stick, then I just add a little bit of flour underneath it, and I'm working in enough flour to make a dough. At this point, I can rub everything off of my hands. My hands were clean to start with, and I'm just going to there, work that. And it takes about 7 to 9 minutes of this. So like I said, you don't have to watch me knead the whole loaf, the whole job here, but this is how I knead bread and how most cooks do. I'll meet you back here after I've got it just right. This got to the point where I thought I had enough flour in it. It was stiff, it wasn't holding anymore, or wasn't taking any more flour up. I just put a little bit of oil on my work surface. Now we can really get at kneading this bread. See you in a bit. I've been kneading about 5 minutes. I have a solid, it's a nice dough. As you can see, it's starting to get stretchies in the dough. I think that's enough, because I'm going to rise it till it's double. That will help develop gluten. And I will also rise it, double it in size in the pan. Take your dough, take your mixing bowl, throw a splash of oil on the bottom, take the dough, good side down, give it a spin, turn it over, make sure the whole thing is covered in lightly in oil. I'm going to cover this with a tea towel and put it in a warm, draft-free place. Where that is in your kitchen is up to you. My range has a proofing setting in the oven, so that's what I'll do, and I'll come back and show you what it's like after it doubles in size. Hey, here I am back at the kitchen table. This bread has doubled in size. It took about an hour, hour and a quarter, not that long. It has doubled in size, so I'm going to take my fist, and it says punch it down. That's exactly what you do. What I'm doing is I'm folding into the middle and punching it down. I want to squeeze as much of that extra air and gases out that I can. Now that I've done that, onto the table. That's a nice looking dough. I'm done with the bowl. I forgot one thing. I have to cut this in half. So take my pastry scraper. I've got my scales here. I'm going to divide these into two, and I want them to weigh exactly the same. That's 817 grams, 916, so let's see here. I want them to weigh the same. $864, $868. So the pieces I tore off to balance, I sort of tuck into the middle. I'm going to make a nice ball of dough. I'll work it together. Okay, nice ball of dough. Put that on my table. Same as this one. Okay, feels like a nice dough. I'm glad. So now that I've, just like when you're making a bun, I've tucked it all in. To get a nice smooth crust, the next thing I do, something I learned years ago, is I'm going to cover this with a tea towel and just let it rest for 10 minutes. Use the same clean tea towel, 10-minute rest. We are back at the kitchen table. It's been 10 minutes and this dough is behaving nicely. It's growing. I'm going to take one of them. At this point, take your hands that you washed and press down as hard as you can to get air out. We don't have to knead it. We just have to get the excess air out so there isn't big bubbles in the bread. I've got my two greased bread pans. So I fold it over. I roll it like this so you can see what I'm doing. I'm come halfway in, and then I do the same with this, and I tuck the ends in. We just want to create a log, and we don't want to have a big air gap in it. We want the ends tucked in. Get it like that. I'm going to roll it back and forth a few times to finish the shaping, then into a loaf pan and press down firmly. There, that's one done. Once you start making your own bread, it is so satisfying. And this one, you know, I might not measure the flour, but I did weigh the loaves. I do like them the same size. They bake evenly then. So, and roll this one in. Roll the ends in. There, just make sure it's all nice and tight. That's a log. Into this tin. Press down firmly. Then you take a sharp knife or a razor blade, and I just push the ends down a bit, I should say that. I've got a single-sided razor blade. I put a piece of tape on one side. Then score it about a ½ inch deep in a straight line down the middle. This will help it rise more in the oven when it goes in to bake. just do it twice and to put a 1/2 inch deep. And I'm going to sift a little bit of flour on top. It gives it a nice bakery look. So I've got a sifter. I'm just going to tap some flour on top. I will let these rise in the pan till they're just cresting the top, and that'll be about double. I'm going to set them back in the oven with the tea towel on top, and I'll keep an eye on them. When they're half risen, I'll turn the oven on and preheat to 425. Hey folks, I'm at the range. The bread is risen above the side. It has just a little bit more than doubled in size. It's going into a 425 oven. I'll set a timer for 12 minutes. After 12 minutes, I'll turn the temperature down to 350 Fahrenheit, of course, and then let it go for 40 minutes, and I'll check it then. Okay, let's get some bread out of the oven. That was 12 minutes at 425, and then 40 minutes at 350. We want it to sound hollow when we knock on the bottom. That is done. And one can assume the other one is done. Same size, same weight, same oven. And there we go. These are 2 loaves of homemade, about 60% brown bread. They will be nice for sandwiches for my lunch. So there you go. Made with instant yeast. I'll show the difference when traditional yeast shows up. I'll show you the difference on how I can make bread using that. I should get a bit more oven lift and better development of flavor. But as it goes, this is how you can make brown bread with instant yeast. I hope you followed along and give it a try at home. Thanks, folks.